Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-host, Vern Glenn of CBS affiliate KPIX-TV in San Francisco, and Russell Jackman. We are going to have a special guest coming on in the second segment, but before we do, we are going to go ahead and play a special video here, which will kind of give you a hint as to who it is.
In right center. If he hits one there, we can dance in the streets. The 2-1. Swung line drive left field. One run is in. Here comes Bream. Here's the front of the plate. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. Braves win. They may have to hospitalize Sid Bream. He's down at the bottom of a huge pile at the plate. They help him to his feet.
All right. So that is Sid Bream, who we are going to have on in the second segment. We'll talk a little bit about the famous slide and a few other things, because I want to ask him specifically how baseball has changed since he last played. And, different things. We're not going to get too political, but I do want to ask him about how things are different, not only baseball-wise, but politicizing-wise from players' standpoints. So we're going to get into that.
I bet he's got an opinion on replay, and if replay had come in.
Good point. Good point. Yeah, that's definitely a question we want to ask. I like that.
Yep.
All right. This segment of Sports Econ 101 is sponsored by Pacific Private Money, providing mortgage investments that are still currently yielding over 7.5%, secured by real estate, primarily in California. It doesn't get any more conservative than them. You got to check them out at pacificprivatemoney.com. And by the way, the trivia theme is today is Super Bowl receptions. Since we're still getting towards the Super Bowl, we have to have some trivia questions on the Super Bowl. All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We're going to be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Vern Glenn. And we have our special guest. We've had him on once before, many years ago. I think it was about 7 years ago. Former Major League Baseball player Sid Bream. Sid, welcome to Sports Econ 101.
Thanks, Edward. Thanks, Vern. Good to be on with y'all again.
Yeah, it's funny. The last time we had you on, I was quite honored because you were very polite in letting us know, hey guys, are we almost done? Because they're expecting me at the ballpark, because it was the first time in 20 years that Pittsburgh had made it into the playoffs, and you were being honored. And I thought, gosh, I'm quite honored myself that you would stay with us as long as you did while we were recording. So I appreciate that.
No problem.
My first question for you, Sid, is just give me a ballpark, so to speak, figure on how many times you have seen that replay.
Well, I mean, Vern, I'll just say this. I mean, when I've gone out and I've done a lot of speaking in my time, and because that is the reason that I have a platform, that play. I play it before I speak every time. So obviously with the pandemic and COVID and all that stuff, this past year hasn't been a lot, but over the course of 28 years, going on 29 years now, I mean, I've seen it a fair amount of times. And you know something, Vern?
Uh-oh, you got frozen again. Holy smokes, right when he's ready to say.
Right, he was just about to make a point. And then,
not that.
Oh, no.
Okay. So what was probably going to happen, because this was happening just before we got on the air for the recording, for some reason Sid's computer was freezing up, and we could see him, but then, it was like a suspended animation. So we're going to have him jump off and then just jump back on.
His hand would be here, it'd be freeze, and then his hand would be over here. Right.
Right when he's ready to say something important.
I know.
All right, well, when Sid joins us again, the couple of questions I wanted to specifically ask was, how many sports figures, let their political feelings known, like when he was playing? And then also, he is a strong Christian, so I'd like to find out, was he discriminated against while he was playing? Did he get support from people, from players and that sort of thing, and upper management? And then also how the game of baseball has changed since he played. trying to remember what was his last year. So like 95, I think, maybe.
Well, the Braves won it all in '95.
Oh no,
And,
that's right.
you know,
He wasn't playing then.
and he was part of. He's part of that team. And
Where?
the great thing about Sid Bream,
yeah,
he grew up in Pennsylvania, and he grew up in a house that were Pittsburgh Pirates fans. And so when he ended up playing for the Pirates, it was like a dream come true.
Sure.
And then business being business the way it is, when free agency came up, he was waiting for the Pirates to give him some sort of a nice sweet deal to continue to play, and they didn't. Just the numbers weren't there, and he was crestfallen at the thought of having to move on from the Pirates and play for another team, and so he signed with the Atlanta Braves.
And who would have thought that it was going to come down to that?
And so this is one of the ultimate what goes around comes around type of things. And for you viewers that are just kind of walking in the door, Sid Bream is our guest. He was the hero of Game 7 of the 1992 NLCS. And in that game, people might remember the Pirates were actually ahead by a couple of runs in the ninth inning, and it was Atlanta that came back and rallied.
Yeah.
And Bream was on second base. Davis Justice was on third base. And then Francisco Cabrera hit the shot, Bream scored, and then it just became baseball folklore from that point on.
Yeah, and Barry was the outfielder for the Pirates, who
he was the left fielder. He had an above-average arm, but his arm wasn't good enough on that relay throw-in.
No, he needed a Roberto Clemente arm or a Rick Ankiel arm.
Yeah,
and,
he did. Yeah.
And Russell, you popped out and you popped back in, and then Sid, unfortunately, something happened with his computer.
Yeah, there's some kind of Comcast problem right now. So yeah, I'm actually connected now with my phone online instead of through Comcast. So I really am sorry about that.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Well, hopefully we'll get Sid back. He'll probably figure out what's going on. Maybe he'll work with his phone instead of.
Yeah, it must be like an outage for Comcast overall. Because my system was up and fine this morning, and then boom, down.
And we use Comcast for our internet at my office in San Rafael. And it's still working. So far so good.
Maybe it's a Novato thing or something. Well, I apologize.
Well, no, don't worry about it.
It's okay.
Okay, we'll hopefully we'll get Sid back on.
Yeah.
Until he does come back on, we'll kind of shift over to something here. I was noticing that PGA is canceling its 2022 championship. Where was it going to be? At Trump Golf Course
in New Jersey. Yes, it was going to be at his place. They pulled out. It's this is not the first time something has happened where corporations begin to take a couple of steps back after being, this kind of happens all the time because nobody wants to be tied to anything negative, and so that's why sponsors pull out, and this is just yet another instance. So that's just kind of the way it goes.
Yeah.
There are other places to hold golf tournaments.
Oh yeah, of course. I just thought it was kind of interesting. It's like,
I think Trump's name is going to be advertising poison for the next couple decades.
Yeah, it's going to be a quite a challenge for him to kind of quote get back on his feet from a policy standpoint.
Not really, because he's got 60 million people that are willing to throw money at him no matter where he goes. So he'll just have to have his little thing over. He'll build his own golf course over at Mar-a-Lago, and people that are MAGA hat wearers will be welcome, and the rest of us will just the wall he really should be interested in building should be around Mar-a-Lago. The remaining amount of time that he's going to spend money building a wall should just be around Mar-a-Lago, and then he and all his pals can hang out.
Or maybe he'll have his own golf tournament. Like go rogue, right?
Yes.
We won't be
he's
sanctioned
welcome to
by
it.
PGA, but
here's what I think is going to happen, and I think this is this is what he wanted to do had he not been president at all. He is going to start his own Trump television network. And it's going to be like Fox News on steroids. It's going to be so far to the right, but and he'll be able to just do what he wants, air what he wants, say what he wants. I mean, it could be on, you know, satellite cable if he wants. But I think that's what he ultimately wants to do.
I will program my remote to skip that channel.
So that's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen.
Or there's the OANN, that news network would probably just go ahead and hand everything over to Trump, because what else have they got going on?
All right, hey guys, first commercial trivia question break here. Theme is Super Bowl receptions. All right, you guys will like this. Super Bowl XLII, which would be 42. Okay. 1 minute, 15 seconds in the fourth quarter. The New York Giants are attempting to pull off one of the biggest upsets in NFL history, knocking off the undefeated New England Patriots. On 3rd and 5 from their own 44-yard line, quarterback Eli Manning managed to escape a collapsing pocket to get free to launch a pass 40 yards in the air. And amongst two defenders, the New York Giants receiver, who somehow—
It's a good trivia question.
You'll like this one. I mean, this is an easy one for you. Came down with the ball, required the media to coin the phrase helmet catch. Who was this receiver?
And it's the only play he's ever made in his life, and it's the only one he'll ever be known for.
That is true. All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, along with Vern Glenn and Russell Jackman. And somehow Sid Bream was on the air and must have been having some computer problems. So
technical difficulties.
So if he can't come back on this time, we'll have him on another time.
That's what we like to say in the business. The show must go on.
That is true. Unfortunately, we can't stop for that.
Wrestling knows about that too well, unfortunately. even when somebody dies in the ring, that's the sad part of it.
That's right. That did happen, didn't it?
It did. It's happened more than once, where guys have died in the ring and they continue to have the show continue.
Did the guy who died, did he win?
No, he lost big time, and so did the entire professional wrestling community lost.
As well as the insurance company. Yeah. Okay. So Super Bowl 42. Basically, who made the helmet catch?
David Tyree.
David Tyree. That's right. That's so funny because people go, Plaxico Burress. No, David Tyree.
That's all he's got on his resume, too.
What happened? Just the next year,
Next year, he got hurt early in the season, and we never heard from him again.
Wow. Okay.
Festus Ezeli looks at that guy and goes, "Wow, that's a limited career."
Oh yeah, well, Festus. Yeah, he was a good guy. Yes, that's right. So, let's see. Gosh, got a little football to talk about, huh? I mean, there was so many games last week. That was like redonkulous.
Well, then we had the game last night too.
And the game last night too, yeah, which was really good. You know, it's so funny. I rarely sit and go the whole time, you know, the whole day, being able to like not do much and just watch TV, you know, watch the games and all that. And gosh, I gotta say, I had a little overload, you know, with like not being able to exercise, being lethargic, you know, even though the games were exciting, but.
I think Mr. Bream is ready to rejoin us. But I used to call those.
I see number 4. I see
that.
Yeah.
I used to call those days PSOs.
Hey, there he is. We were wondering. Russell was telling us that he was having Comcast problems, and we thought, maybe that's what's going on with you too. Well, I think we can hear you. Can't see you yet, but
yeah, I doubt that you're going to see me because I come on from my iPhone. I mean, and I can't even. I can't get on for that. But I mean,
not a problem. At least we can hear you. That's a good thing.
So I apologize, guys, but I mean, I've been having some problems with my Wi-Fi here for a couple of days now, and I mean, and it just built up here. So anyway, I'm back with you, but see my face, and that's probably a good thing.
Yeah.
well, Sid, I'll just throw it to you like this. I'll first of all, I'll ask the audience to kind of close their eyes and envision a picture of Sid Bream in front of him as I asked this. All these years later, I'm just curious. How many people have come to you and said, "Hey, man, you know you were out. Come on, fess up. You're out on that play."
I mean, here in Pittsburgh, I mean, in actuality, I work as a chaplain for a trucking company here now, and I have one gentleman in there that almost every time he sees me at PGT Trucking, I mean, he will go ahead and tell me that I was out. So that is not uncommon here. As I shared with you a little bit before I got frozen. I've literally been doing some speaking, and people right in the middle of my series, part of my talk here in the Pittsburgh area, stand up and say, "You were out."
Yeah.
So I mean, I've heard it numerous times over the years, but I know I've seen it too many times to know that my foot got in there just enough before, and so I was safe.
Yeah. Actually,
well, here comes the share with us your journey kind of question. How long after the game, maybe when you're by yourself, at your locker or whatever, maybe on the drive back to the hotel or the plane or wherever, did you sit back and just kind of reflect on how you got there? I mean, growing up a Pirates fan, playing for the Pirates, playing for this very team that was trying to get you out, playing with Barry Bonds, the greatest teammate you ever had, and then it all comes full circle. What goes around comes around. You score the winning run to vault the Atlanta Braves into the World Series.
Vern, I'll just tell you, I mean, and again, my story a little bit is because in 1990, I was a free agent after the 1990 year. I mean, and after we got beat by the Cincinnati Reds in the playoffs in 1990, the Pittsburgh Pirates management came out and said in the paper the very next day after we lost, Sid Bream's our first priority to sign for the 1991 season. So truthfully, my wife and I were ecstatic, thinking, okay, we're going to get a long-term contract. Everything's going to be good. I'm on a winning team. I got a great coach, Jim Leland, got some great players. And, throughout the negotiations during that time frame, they didn't even get close to market price, let alone do anything over and above that. And, so we got the free agency time, and that's when Atlanta came in, gave me a great offer, said, you need to make a decision tonight, because if you're not going to come down here, we're going to go someplace else to try to find a first baseman. My wife and I said, yes, we're going to do that. We're going to come down. But that night, I mean, literally, I want you to know, I mean, I'm a big baby, and I cried my eyes out. My wife and I cried our eyes out that night. And the next morning, I called up Jim Leland, my manager, and said, Skip, am I bound to this contract? And he said, well, you haven't put your name to it yet, so you're not bound to it. So at that point in time, I called my attorney, who, if you guys remember Payne Stewart when he went down on the plane, my attorney's name was Robert Fraley, and he was on that plane with Payne. So for an hour and a half, Robert tried to talk me out of doing what I was going to do, and that's, we get away from that contract with the Braves and sign with Pittsburgh and take quite a bit of money less to stay in Pittsburgh. But then he came back and he finally said, Sid, what happens if you sign with Pittsburgh and they trade you down to Atlanta? I mean, you're going to look like an idiot. I mean, and I said, great point. I said, let's go back to Pittsburgh and ask them for a no trade clause. And we did that, and they said no to a no trade clause. And I said, I'm your first priority, I'd hate to see what your last one is.
Yeah.
And we went down to Pittsburgh, and then, talking about that slide, 2 years in a row, we knocked the Pittsburgh Pirates out of it. So I want you to know, I mean, I had a lot of heartbreak thinking that the players weren't going to get, and Jim Leland wasn't going to get to the World Series. But as far as management in Pittsburgh, I mean, I said, screw you guys. I mean, if I'm your first priority, I'd hate to see what your last one is. And it was nice being able to get them back a little bit.
Yeah, you hold Jim Leland in such high regard. Don't you have a son that's named after him?
That is correct. I mean, our third son is Austin Leland Bream. And, Jim Leland and I, we've had a great relationship over the years. And truly in the game of professional baseball, I consider Jim Leland the best manager that I played for, and just a great individual. And, you know, for some reason, we went ahead and named our third son. His middle name was Leland, yes.
Here's a good one. Here, go ahead, Mr. Jackman.
Yeah, this is Russell Jackman. I was able to rejoin the call. I wanted to know about how it felt to get that kind of monkey off the back of Atlanta that had been, you know, building up for so many years, that Atlanta had such a great team but wasn't able to cash in, you know, and win a World Series. What was it like to then finally cash that in and go from contender to a real champion like that?
Well, Russell, let me just tell you, I wasn't there when they won the World Championship.
Yeah.
I came in 91 and 92 and 93. I was there to start everything. We did go to 2 World Series, one against Minnesota, one against Toronto. But in 93, I mean, after they brought in Fred McGriff, I mean, I was ushered out and I went to Houston, and so I wasn't there for the 1995 World Series when they did win it. But still, I mean, 14 years of consecutive championships, I mean, is a pretty doggone good, you know, record to have for yourself. But I was glad just to be there at the start of it all. I was glad to be there with guys like David Justice and Ronnie Gant and Tommy Glavitt and John Smoltz and the host of other ones, Terry Pendleton and everybody else, and watch a team all of a sudden, I mean, start to understand what it meant to be a winner, and go out there and do it, and do it in fashion.
When you run into those guys today, how long is it before the old stories start coming out?
Well, generally every year I go down to Braves fantasy camp, and I've been to Pittsburgh Pirates one time for a fantasy camp. But you know, as soon as you walk into the locker rooms and your teammates are there, I mean, stories start to fly. I mean, it's you know, you almost feel like you're in a soap opera. I mean, you could not watch it for 6 years, and you watch it that one day, and I mean, it's like you never missed it. And you know, that's what it's like when you get with your buddies. I mean, stories start flying, and and all the fun starts taking over again, and you really have a great time with your teammates.
Hey, Sid, stay with us. I want to keep you on for the next segment. We have to go to a quick commercial break here. All right, Super Bowl 21, almost 11 minutes left in the fourth quarter. New York Giant Phil Simms from the Denver Broncos 6-yard line tries to put away the Super Bowl with a pass in the center of the end zone to Mark Bavaro. But Bavaro can't hold on, and it pops up behind him, giving Bavaro no chance to make a second play. But a Spitfire receiver was at the right place to dive under the ball to make the game clinching touchdown. Who finally got his Super Bowl touchdown after barely being held out of the end zone earlier in the game? Basically, who made the catch after it went off of Bavaro's hands? All right, stay with us. You're listening to Sports Econ 101. Don't touch that dial. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown here, Vern Glenn over there, Russell Jackman over there, and Sid Bream on the phone. Quick question, Super Bowl 21, New York Giants, Phil Simms throws the ball to Bavaro, goes off of his hands. Who was the receiver who ended up catching it in the end zone for the game-clinching touchdown?
Let's see if Russ can make it 2 for 2.
Oh, yeah, that one is lost in me.
I gave you a softball question the first time.
Yes, that was a softball question. I can't even think of a Giants wide receiver right now.
Amari Toomer? I don't know. Who?
Yeah. Phil McConkey.
Phil McConkey, of course.
Yes.
You got me on that one.
All right, so
Phil McConkey.
All right, on the phone here we have, on the Zoom call, we have Sid Bream, former Major League Baseball player for the Dodgers, Pirates, Braves, and Astros. So Sid, I want to ask you how things have changed since you played, and I want to get specific here. Like, you know, nowadays sports figures let their political feelings known. It didn't seem to be as widespread when you were playing, and the fact that you are Christian, you're a chaplain and all that, and I wondered how your other teammates and upper management, did you get discriminated against, or were they accepting? And then also, last question is how the game of baseball has changed since you played, like, replay and all that. So the first part, when you were playing, did a lot of guys let their feelings known about, world events and politics, that sort of thing?
I mean, I don't think that you saw it that much back then. I mean, I do believe there were instances in the clubhouse where there were situations that individuals felt that they were treated unfairly. But again, it wasn't something that was brought out into the papers or onto television for the most part. It's a hard question because, I mean, obviously we want to bring up issues that are going to correct this nation. But at the same time, I think that if we really sit back and we look at our nation and we try to figure out what's taking place, I think we need to really be focused on is what's going on with our families right now. I mean, and the fatherless homes and so on and so forth. And you wonder why. I mean, you look at statistics that talk about a fatherless kid and what's going to happen to that fatherless kid. I mean, you're just sitting there saying, okay, why shouldn't we be talking more about that than we are talking about a president or whatever's taking place? I mean, just to throw out a couple things, guys. Yeah. I mean, and I have this on my thing. 63% of youth suicides are from fatherless homes. 83% of all children who exhibit behavioral disorders come from fatherless homes. 71% of all high school dropouts come from fatherless homes. 70% of juveniles in state-operated institutions come from fatherless homes. I mean, so those are just a couple of them. I mean, to me, that's what athletes, that's what people should be talking about. Is we need to start bringing our families back together. We need to tell our men we got to start standing up and be the husbands we're supposed to be to our wives and the father we're supposed to be to our kids. And if they did that, I would be a whole lot more on board with what they're saying than some of the things that they're bringing up today.
That's a really good point. I mean, my wife and I have been married 31 years, and we have two pretty good kids. I can't. I mean, it was hard enough with two of us bringing up our kids. I can't imagine what it would be like if one of us wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So I totally resonate with that.
And just to share something else here, another statistic: children. I mean, and again, so it doesn't have to be that you're from a rich family or anything, but it says children from a low-income two-parent family outperform students from a high-income single-parent family.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's there's something there. I mean, there's something that kid, and just to share a situation here with myself at this trucking job, I go in there and talk about dads being dads and husbands being the wives. Husbands are supposed to be the wives, but I tell those guys, I said, listen to this. I mean, some of you in here might have grown up without a dad, and I've talked to plenty of them. That the dad wasn't around, but at the same time, I go on and I say, some of you in here might have had a dad that told you sucked, you'd never amount to anything. Yeah. I mean, and back, several months ago, there was a gentleman that literally his stature, he could have been a linebacker on a football team. He was that huge. He was an Iraqi war veteran, 35 to 40 years old. I mean, just a pillar of a man. And when I got done with the class, with the new training class, he called me back and he said, man, how did you know that was me? And how did you know that still haunts me to this day? I mean, that's the stuff that we have to be thinking about as far as our country's concerned. Getting the dads to be the dads that are supposed to be their kids, being there for them, and at the same time, working through your problems with your wives and staying with your wives. And, and if that takes place, a lot of things are going to change as far as our country's concerned.
No, that's a good point. I mean, I remember years ago thinking you know, my dad was a guy who was a CPA, and he just worked all the time. So yeah, my parents stayed together, but he really wasn't there, you know what I mean? And I remember, like, when I started my own business, you know, doing accounting, tax, and all that kind of stuff, I realized, you know, I could probably make an extra, you know, $100,000 a year if I followed in my dad's footsteps of working so hard. But I said, you know what? I'd come home at 5 p.m. even during tax time, see my wife and little baby in the pool playing, and I go, you know what? This is life. Who cares about the extra money? You know, you got to be there for your kids.
I mean, you know, in the end, God's not going to care how much money you made.
Yeah.
God is gonna put it on your shoulders as far as what you did with your wife and your kids. I mean, that is our responsibility, and God does care about that stuff.
Yeah. I mean, all of us are married. I mean, Vern, how long you been married?
We're going on 20, coming up on 25.
25.
Yeah. Yeah.
Come on, Vern. Vern, that should have come off your lips a whole lot quicker than that.
And Russell, you've been married how long?
15 years,
15
moving on to 16. Yeah.
It's like we're all veterans, you know?
That's right.
You just don't see
Guys, I'm 37 years. I mean, and again, I want you to understand, marriage is not easy. I mean, it is difficult. I mean, and you know, you have to work at your marriage in order to make it great. And you know, I can say I did some stupid things early in my days, but I'm with my wife, and our marriage now is better than it's ever been, and I'm thankful for it. I'm thankful that God gave me to her.
Well, you know, it's amazing too, because you got married when you were, I guess, 23, and
23 old.
Yeah, 23, and the fact about being a baseball player where there's so much travel, you know, I mean, it's kind of it's an anomaly to be married to the same person for all these years. Did your wife? How often did she travel with you?
Maybe. Well, when I was with the Dodgers, I mean, well, and again, I wasn't with the Dodgers a whole lot, but she took some trips there when we were single. But you know, generally, you know, early in my days, I mean, we still weren't making money. I mean, our you know, good grief, I think our what do you call it, the salary at that point in time for a rookie was $55,000.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you weren't making a whole lot of money back then. And so, you know, she didn't take a whole lot, but once the kids, you know, came around a little bit, we were starting to make money. She would generally take two trips, at least 1 or 2 trips with me a year with the kids, and we'd have a good time that way.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. Let me ask.
I was going to say that's the econ part of sports econ.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. And Sid, I want to venture a guess. I mean, being around the game for as long as I have, a lot of these baseball marriages, the couples meet when the player is just getting going. I mean, rookie ball, A ball, kind of as they're kind of
Madison
on the way up.
Perfect example.
Yeah. So they kind of, so the wives are kind of, everybody just kind of sticks it out, and then the half percentage that actually makes the show, then you get the payoff. But it's years before that, right?
Absolutely. I mean, you know, even today, I mean, if you consider, I think, I don't know what the initial salary, I think it's around $500,000. But guys, you understand with taxes coming out of $500,000, if he plays 1 or 2 years, I mean, before he has a chance even to get to arbitration, I mean, $500,000 is not going to last you too long today.
Well, especially when you have to pay every state that you play that has a tax.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Is that you know, that was something that was just getting started when I was towards the end of my career. They started to make you do a state income tax for every state that you played in, and I'm just sitting there thinking, come on, you know, come on.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I mean, it's still going on, and the only ones that really benefited from it were states like California, where you guys are from, that, I mean, had a higher state income tax. Yeah. They would get more, but most of them just evened out. I mean, you just had to pay your accountant more.
Hey, let me tell you something, Sid. I'm from Virginia, so I grew up in the Parker Field where the Richmond Braves played was in my backyard. So I go back. Yeah, I go back like that. So
I'm just wondering how much you had to pay your accountant to prepare all those tax returns.
Yeah.
I don't remember. I mean, I haven't been taking my Prevagen here lately, but you know, at the same time, I don't remember what it was. But I mean, when they had to do all those things, I mean, it certainly drove up the cost as far as my accountant's concerned.
Oh, for sure. Signing all that stuff away. Well, Sid, thank you so much again for being our guest on Sports Econ 101. And we'll definitely have to have you on again a little, next time, and we'll get a full show. Yeah.
And one last thing, Sid, just because it's topical, I know you weren't a Dodger for very long, but you had to have run across Tommy Lasorda at some point in your career. And if you could just share with us maybe a thought or two about him, who made it in '93, and now he's barking and just yelling Dodger propaganda up there in heaven now.
Well, I mean, Tommy, I mean, again, I came in with the Dodgers, so I went up through the minor league system, and Tommy was the manager with the Los Angeles Dodgers when I was there, and Tommy was great for the game of baseball. He was great for cameras, and I was very, very fortunate to be able to play with him. Yeah, and but I will say this. I mean, when I was with the Los Angeles Dodgers in spring training, just to make a show, he'd have you out there from like 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning till 6:30 at night, and you stood around all day long, doing hardly nothing. And when I went to the Pittsburgh Pirates, I mean, it was real nice because Jim Leland, you'd start at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, and you'd be done by 12 o'clock, and you'd go spend some time with your family. But the only reason Tommy wanted to do that is to portray himself as, look at my boys working, but we were standing around most of the day. But again,
driving crazy. Hey guys, we have to get to our last commercial.
Tommy was a great guy. I mean, a great man. I mean, like I said, a great ambassador for the game of baseball. He bled Dodger blue, and I know that the baseball world will miss him.
All right, guys, thanks. We'll be right back.
All right.
Welcome back to Sports Econ 101.
You didn't even ask a trivia question.
I didn't, so I'm going to ask it right now. Super Bowl 11 minutes in the fourth quarter. Fran Tarkenton and Minnesota Vikings are down 12 to the Oakland Raiders. Tarkenton, in an attempt to keep a drive alive, sends a pass down the center of the field that is caught, but the receiver is pummeled by a helmet-to-helmet hit by Jack Tatum. But after his helmet is knocked off, the hit was so violent the chin strap was separated from the helmet too. But the receiver still holds onto the ball. Who was that receiver?
Oof.
That's a tough one, huh? Especially when you're talking Fran Tarkenton, you're going back Super Bowl 11.
Wow.
I remember that with the Oakland Raiders, right? They beat.
What year was that?
That was 1976.
76, so 75.
Yeah.
All right, guys, I have to just give you the answer. It's Sammy White.
Sammy White.
White.
Okay, I remember Sammy White.
Remember Sammy White?
Number 85.
Number 85, yeah, that's right. Well, that was a pleasure having Sid on. We'll have to have him on next time when we have less complications. We can get more stories from him. That'll be really good. So if you guys are ready, here's our thoughts for the day. He who laughs last didn't get the joke.
At least he laughed.
There you go. Yeah.
At least he laughed.
Yep.
And when you're alone, if you feel lonely, obviously you're in bad company. Bam!
There you go. Nice.
People really understand that now during the pandemic more than ever.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Well, though, that's when you got to be alone but never lonely, rather than never alone but lonely, right? That's kind of one way.
That's why they invented the internet.
Yeah, that's helped out quite a bit. Can you imagine what people had to do 100 years ago? Not so much. All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We'll be discussing sports topics from a business perspective and asking more sports trivia questions. Thanks for listening. On behalf of our team, I'm your host, Edward Brown. We'll see you next week.
Adios.
Good night, America.
Hold on.